Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening around the world. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Blackjack. Today, as always, I'll be doing a YouTube deck tech for you guys from the comments section. If you're interested in having me put a deck together for you or help you tweak a current list, I'm looking for any of the 5 metrics in the comments section. A bracket, a budget, a theme, a commander, and any pet cards you might have. Today, we have a request from the user Geildus, who is looking for a Kasla Convoke deck around bracket 4. So Kasla is 3 colorless, blue, red, and white. So Jeskai for a 5/4 with Convoke. There's going to be a lot of Convoke here, so I'll go over that right now. You can basically cast something by tapping a creature to reduce the cost by 1 if you're convoking it. It can be a colorless or one of the color that you're tapping that creature of. So if I want to cast Kasla and I have a white creature on the field, I can tap that to reduce Kasla by either 1 colorless or 1 white mana. It has Vigilance, Flying, and Haste, and then whenever you cast another spell that has Convoke, scry 2 and then draw a card. I think this deck turned out really powerful. This is not a bracket 4 deck in my opinion. I think you might be able to tweak it and go more of a combo route, but at least in my personal opinion, when you start talking bracket 4, I think you're pretty much looking at comboing out, winning around like turn 4, turn 5, every turn of the game, and that's just not really what I see this commander as being built to do. But this is going to be very powerful and can contend with higher power decks in general. So first card is Invasion. So it is a siege. When it enters, you make 2 blue Krakens with trample. So keep in mind that making tokens is opportunistic for this deck because you can use those tokens to convoke. So your tokens are sharing a dual purpose here. One half they're convoking and the other half they're actually dealing damage and winning the game. And then eventually it does flip and give all your non-creature spells convoke, which is obviously insane in this deck. Planeswalkers, Saheeli to generate tokens, as well as Elspeth's Sun's Champion, as well as Elspeth's Stormslayer, though this one does double tokens. But essentially all these are just made to create tokens or double them. Creatures, you have Benny Brax, so if you make a token you draw a card. Drumbellower will untap all the tokens, so again sharing that dual purpose of being able to actually go into combat with your tokens, get some damage in, and then untap them all, so you can, convoke a spell at instant speed or whatever. Enduring Innocence to draw cards. You're going to have a lot of tokens coming in. Exalted Sunborn, another token doubler that you can get in early. Knight Errant, pretty obvious. It has Convoke, and you also get, stuff out of it. Kaikar generates tokens. Magda generates tokens. Mentor of the Meek is card draw. Mondrak doubles your tokens. Party Thrasher gives Convoke. Perforos deals damage with your tokens. Saint Traff does a little bit of everything. It has Convoke ability, or it has Convoke text, and it creates tokens. Safara Skyblade is what you decided was a pet card for you, so not only is it already pretty good in this deck, but being able to give all of your flying tokens indestructible is obviously strong. Wandering Rescuer is a convoke spell that you can have come in to kind of save your guys. Village Bell Ringer can untap all your stuff. Welcoming Vampire for card draw. Wildfire, Awakener, and Yun Pyromancer to make more tokens. And then Zephyr Singer, you can convoke it and then give stuff flying as well. Sorceries, so you have Calamity of Cinders. Pretty much this is what I would consider to be a one-sided board wipe. This and Hour of Reckoning are essentially the same thing. So you can kind of convoke to board wipe, and most of your stuff will stay because it's either going to be tapped or it's going to be tokens. So it's one-sided, which means it's good for you. Jessica's Will to get your commander out faster, and then Martial Coup and White Sun's Twilight, both as 2 more board wipes that also generate tokens. So instance, you can kind of see pretty obviously from this package, the most important part of this game plan is overcommitting to the board. You're going to need to have a truckload of creatures on the board to actually end the game and make your game plan function. So your biggest hurdle is going to be not getting board wiped. If you get board wiped, it's going to set you very far back. So I have 5 things for you that are going to actually help save your creatures. Akroma's Will, Clever Concealment, Flawless Maneuver, Grand Crescendo, and Teferi's Protection, all to save your team from getting board wiped and make sure that you can stay in a winning position. Secure the Wastes as a great way to make creatures. Swords of Plowshares, probably the best removal in the format. And then Transcendent Message, being able to attack with all your creatures, untap them with Drum Bellower on somebody else's turn, and then convoke out a big Transcendent Message to draw a bunch of cards, seems very powerful. Artifacts, looking at ramp, you have Arcane Signet, Azoria Signet, Boros Signet, Felwar Stone, Izzet Signet, Talisman, Soul Rain, Thought Vessel, 10 up, 10 down, staying consistent with that 10 always. We also have Halo Fountain. It can generate tokens, it can draw cards, and eventually it can win the game, does everything this deck wants. Idol of Oblivion's obvious card draw in a token-producing deck. Shorikai is a great way to generate tokens and draws cards, and it protects itself, and you can crew it. Protecting itself, obviously, because it's not always a creature. Skull Clamp, the single best card draw in any token deck. And then Throne of the God Pharaoh as another way to weaponize these tokens and make them deal damage, whether you're tapping them to convoke stuff or you're tapping them to attack. Enchantments, City on Fire, you can convoke this out and then start dealing triple damage. Dazzling Theater, Prop Room, so both sides of these work. You can either give creature spells convoke, or you can untap creatures, so depending on the game state, either side can be very powerful for you. Feldar Retreat to make tokens and then bump them all up. Impact Tremors as a mini Perforos. Intruder Alarm. We should expect to make tokens every turn of the game and produce creatures every turn of the game, so this is never going to affect us. We're always going to be able to untap all of our creatures when we make tokens, and there's a lot of ways that this can go infinite. But it also has the side effect of there's going to be other decks out there that don't play many creatures, and they're just not going to get to untap stuff. Jeskai Ascendancy does a little bit of everything, pumps our creatures, gives card draw. It's a winning spell for us. Rhystic Study, Smothering Tithe, card draw, and mana advantage. It's hard to beat. Toskai's welcome for card draw. Unstoppable Plan to be able to untap your stuff like we already talked about. And then finally, War Leader's Call to deal damage and be another Perforos. Unstoppable Plan is the only one I'm not 100% convinced on, just because there are effects that you benefit from having tapped creatures. So I think there's going to be game states where this card's going to be absolutely broken, and I think there's going to be game states where you don't want to play it. So just be careful when you play this card, but I do think overall it has the potential to be incredible. Lands, as always, do your best with what you have. I will say, as far as cheaper lands that I think you should not skip on, Care Keep is easy and cheap token generation. Minas Tirith is good card draw. Fountain Port does a little bit of everything in a token deck. And then finally, Castle Ardenvale also for making tokens. Overall, I think this deck's extremely powerful. I will say that we did not play every single token doubler that's available to us. There was like 2 or 3 more options. I think in general token doublers are a bit win more in most decks. I think here they can be good, but I wanted them to share more than one purpose. So if you look at Elspeth, yeah, it doubles tokens, but it also makes them and makes them bigger. So it shares a dual purpose. Exalted Sunborn, you can warp in super early, so it's essentially a token doubler that could be extremely cheap. Mondrak, it doubles, plus it can be indestructible, so there are abilities that these things have besides strictly just double the tokens. Overall, I think you're going to have a really, really good time with this deck. Just remember, keep one of your spells available to protect your board from a board wipe and enjoy overflowing and flooding the table with tokens. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, Godspeed.